Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Post Movie Podcast. I'm Steve Head.
I'm John Black.
And on this episode, we're going to talk about HUGO, the new Martin Scorsese flick, which is kind of strange that it's a Martin Scorsese flick because it's like this big budget family 3D thing. But it's a Martin Scorsese flick.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
And My Week with Marilyn, starring the lovely Michelle Williams and Kenneth Branagh.
Oh, equally lovely. You know, I was telling you that I watched Martin Scorsese with Jon Stewart on The Daily Show, and he said that the reason he did it was he's got a daughter, however old she is, 8, 9, 10, and she told him, you know, he read the book. His wife said to make a movie. He was like, I don't want to. And then his daughter read the book and said, you know, you should make this movie. So he got pressured into it by his little kid. Yeah. And he was happy because she can't see any of his other movies. She was the one who told him it's going to be in 3D, right? And so that's how, that's how it happened. It's a good interview.
My first experience with this with the book was like 4 or 5 years ago.
Uh-huh.
I was sent a preview copy. I used to get like advanced readers copies of books. One of them was The Invention of Hugo Cabret. And so it was like this large soft cover tome with black and white
letters
with all the black and white
drawings,
illustrations. That's what they're called, drawings, right?
Yes.
And I didn't think anything of it. I thought it was a children's book. I thought.
Did you read it?
No, I didn't. I didn't.
You just discarded it. It's like
I have no
kid's
idea.
book, whatever.
Yes. I gave it away. I don't know. I don't know what happened to it. But I liked the title. I liked its the inventiveness of it. It looked neat, but it looked like, it looked like something that was, when I first heard about Harry Potter and saw the books on the shelf, I thought it's a children's book.
Right. That couldn't be any good.
Yeah. And I thought the same thing about Hugo Cabret.
Are there other?
But look what movies do.
Are there other famous books that you've just pshawed because you thought they were beneath you?
That I got advanced readers copies of?
No, just in general, you see Shakespeare, you're like, whatever, it's a play. How good can it be? It's poetry, but it doesn't rhyme, whatever.
I thought it was like this graphic novel, like this really thick tome graphic novel.
Right.
Turns out it was written by,
some
David
guy.
O. Selznick relative.
HUGO was?
And I didn't get enough into it to know that it was sort of a homage to Georges Méliès,
I didn't know that going into. I knew nothing about the movie going into it, except that it was Scorsese in 3D.
Man, but before we get into the movies, let's talk about some stuff that's coming up to local theaters.
Okay.
We have to.
No,
John,
no.
Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Okay.
Is playing at the Coolidge
at midnight.
At midnight, December 2nd and 3rd at the Coolidge.
Didn't we already talk about that and how I hate midnight
well, we
movies?
mentioned it, but like you hate midnight.
Well, I hate the fact that I'd be stuck in Coolidge Corner at 1:30 in the morning with no way to get home.
And the other part is you're falling asleep, which I do during regular films.
Yeah, I've slept through many a midnight screening. It's just I'd rather Netflix it and watch it at home than drag my ass out to Coolidge.
You can Netflix Creature from the Black Lagoon,
sure.
I guess, but you're not going to see it in 3D on Netflix, and that's what the Coolidge has. They have a 3D copy, which so Creature from the Black Lagoon came out in 1954 during the 3D craze. It was one of the first major studio 3D films. Like within a couple of months each other, there was a few studio from each other.
House of Wax and
you're right. Yeah, actually, House of Wax.
House of Wax
was
is a great movie.
Yeah, it had been released in 2D, and then I think in I researched this online, and then in the early 70s, Universal released it again in the 3D format. And it's a different type of 3D. In other words, chintzy 3D.
So it's like most of this 3D we're seeing today, which is pretty chintzy.
I actually wouldn't consider Hugo chintzy 3D.
Oh, no.
I was really impressed.
No, I was blown away by the 3D.
Okay, so Creature from the Black Lagoon, playing December 2nd and 3rd at the Coolidge in 3D. Do check it out. I wonder how. This is amazing to me. How in the world are they able to get their hands on a 3D print of, a Creature from the Black Lagoon? I don't know. I'm gonna have to find out. Question: of the 3D films you've seen in the past couple of years, which would you consider your favorites? I can tell you right away.
Favorites as far as what?
Best 3D.
You mean besides Piranha 3D?
Besides,
Piranha 3D,
Piranha
Jackass 3D, HUGO.
I would add one to that.
What?
Drive Angry.
Was it? Oh yeah, that was 3D too. Yep,
Yeah.
with the skulls flying at you and the blood.
Yeah.
You know, and it's funny. Those are probably, with the exception of Hugo, those aren't movies that were critic darlings.
Yeah,
You
but
know?
the 3D was great.
Yeah.
I loved Avatar. I know that you and
Never saw it in
Brett
3D.
and Sean, had.
Oh, I've never seen it in 3D.
You didn't see that? They screened it. They press screened it for us twice in 3D.
Right. I went
First
the
was a
first
big
time when
error
the
with the
3D didn't
blur.
work,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't go back because I thought the movie sucked. So I wasn't going to sit through that again just to watch the pretty effects. And by the way, Mr. Cameron, I got an email the other day that April next year, Titanic in 3D.
Yeah, they screened
Well,
they screened a fair portion of it a couple months back, and it really blew the press away in L.A.
Yeah, well, they've
So-
got their lips locked onto Cameron's ass.
Mister, I won't do an upgrade. Doesn't upgrade.
Yeah, of the greatest movie ever made. Just ask him.
Only it's just
Just ask him.
Quality.
I dread sitting through that thing again.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll admit
You
to
gotta
you,
sit-
I have a soft spot for the Titanic,
Well,
not for the Celine Dion crap, but I loved that sort of grand, big budget movie making.
I like when
Love it, man.
when the ship sank, but otherwise I was pretty bored by the whole thing. I don't think it's going to get any better.
Has
so
Cameron
many
done
years
anything
on.
that didn't you like Terminator?
Yes, Terminator.
2, Judgment Day? You an Abyss fan?
I like the Abyss because I
Hmm.
think that was a really cool effect at the time. The water thing. I don't think it was a great movie, but I like the effects in it. But I liked Terminator.
Yeah.
And what else has he done?
How
I
could
like
you
his
not?
early stuff.
I mean, True Lies.
Yes, True Lies was great. But he got a little full of himself after Titanic, and then
It's just all out there, and it even resonates today because the next Chipmunk movie, whatever it's called, Chipmunks Taking a Cruise or whatever.
I don't know.
It has the chipmunk in the trailer. It has the chipmunk on the bow of the boat. I'm the king of the world.
Yeah, I posted the story on the blog about the 3D release, and I included a link to his Oscar speech when he was king of the world.
Hey, also over at the Coolidge, 12 Monkeys is playing on December 12th.
Midnight. What are they showing during
No,
normal hours?
it's a big screen classics.
That's a
So
pretty
you're gonna
wild
get
movie.
that at 7:00, and might even get somebody doing
Is it Brad Pitt?
an introduction
Brad Pitt, isn't it?
beforehand.
Who? Is
Carl Zimmer.
it- Who?
It says right here. About the speaker, New York Times Book Review calls Carl Zimmer as fine an essayist as we have. In his books, essays, articles, and blog posts, Zimmer reports from the frontiers of biology, where scientists are
Oh, is
expanding
it-
our understanding of life.
It's their Science on Screen
Yeah, science on
series.
screen. Yeah.
I never went to one
Yeah,
of those. I don't know
so-
what kind of connection he'd make between a strange Terry Gilliam movie and botany or biology or whatever he's studying.
Did you see that Gary Oldman flick, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy?
You bet.
Good? Bad?
I was in the minority. I loved it,
Really?
but it's really slow moving. It's it doesn't really explain itself very well, but I like that about it. The same way I just we talked about it a little while ago on the show. I watched the original BBC series with Alec Guinness. Same thing. They don't explain everything that's going on. You just know these guys are spies, and they're looking for the traitor. There are some graphic scenes of violence, and that was some of the critics. They only like those parts.
Well,
but
what
I
do you
like the
think?
whole thing.
Well, what were they complaining about? 'Cause
Oh, it's
I've heard some
really
adverse
slow, Steve.
points.
It just plods along at its own pace. It doesn't care what you think. But
This
I found
is
the
the,
acting fascinating. I mean, Gary Oldman probably says a half dozen words in the first half hour.
Huh.
People say these things to him, and he just kind of stares at him, and then the scene cuts.
It's the follow-up film from the guy who made Let Me In or Let the Right One In,
Mhm.
Swedish director Thomas Alfredson.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to make a dime.
Well, it's got to be the PR people. They're positioning Gary Oldman as a best actor.
Well, it's that time of year. Everyone, I'm
Possibility.
sure they're going to position one of the Chipmunks if they come out before the end of the year.
Position.
Anything, Now it's
coming. It's coming to the Coolidge.
There's virtually nothing opening next week, and then
What is opening next week?
there's one thing at the Kendall that I could find, and that's it. Or wait, there was one other one. I think it's like 2 movies opening next week, and then it's just a landslide with 5 movies a week and movies on Christmas Day and all this other. It's going to be hectic.
Man, I just stumbled across this film coming to the Coolidge on December 9th called From the Back Room. It's a Riot Girl documentary about
Right,
girl
girls?
bands,
Of the 90s?
rock and roll, of the now.
Of the now?
Yeah.
Is it
What's
Riot
happening?
spelled with a bunch of R's, like Riot?
Yeah. With
That's
interviews
so
with
powerful.
Catherine Hanna from Bikini Kill and the Tigre, Blatz, Kristen from Naked Aggression, also featuring the band's Witch Hunt, Bruise Violet.
Yeah.
You know,
They're in heavy rotation on my playlist.
I'm into it. It looks cool.
Yeah.
You know,
I've listened to Bikini Kill, but I
Yeah.
think I was lured in by the title, and then
Sarah got me into Le Tigre,
hmm
and
they're fun.
Yeah.
I thought that was a dude, though.
Oh. Yeah.
Actually, she thinks she's a dude.
I thought it was a guy on keyboards too. I can't
Yeah.
remember her name, but
The dude.
oh well.
Did you see
They're all nice people. We've seen
the documentary?
What was that?
good.
Who Stole the Bomb? Who Stole
Yeah.
the Boom?
That was it.
Where Goes?
It introduced me to a whole new world.
Yeah.
So actually, we saw a movie. I don't think you saw it the other day called Pariah,
No, I
The
missed it.
teenage
Shit
black
going on,
lesbian
John.
movie.
Shit going on.
and at first the lead actress, I thought it was the lead actor, and then you find out she's a woman, and then she came in for interviews, and she's a stunningly attractive woman. I was like, I thought you were a dude. I didn't say
It's her
that out loud,
character.
but there's I think that's the one that's opening next week. That and something that
Oh right,
at the
Pariah,
Kendall.
Pariah. Yeah. So from the back room, December 9th at the Coolidge.
Okay,
Did you dig that Swell Season movie? What was it? Once.
the what?
The Swell. Remember the movie? It was a kind of a DIY.
The
Irish
Irish guy and
mumblecore.
yeah, I did actually. It had a great
Once.
soundtrack.
Yeah, terrific film. I saw those guys later that year at the Orpheum, Glenn Hansgard. And so they've got a new film, The Swell Season. It's playing at Arts Emerson on December 8th. And it's been getting some
Is that the one they
press.
had? You saw at the press the press preview?
I don't think they had a...
Yeah.
No, that was Color Wheel,
Okay.
which is December 2nd and 3rd. But this is The Swell Season.
Is it the same thing? Do they sing and dance through it all? And
I don't know. I think it's a straight-up documentary. An intimate portrait.
Oh,
I'm sure it's that.
it is. It is.
Man, let's get on to Hugo. Or My Week with Marilyn. What do you want to do?
Let's do Hugo. Hugo de Naranja.
Yeah.
Did you not like it as much as I did?
I'm not as thrilled about it as
Me?
our other fellow critics.
I loved it.
I thought it was neat,
Mm-hmm.
and
Keen.
yeah, it was super keen
Oh,
in
God.
many ways. But
Can they
I
have
found
that? Can
myself
they have that
just
for the poster? Super keen.
I got it, Steve Head.
Yeah.
I was bored with it, like halfway
Really?
through. Yeah,
Oh wow. Well, I was not at all.
and then I got to thinking, and this is me just being super negative, that as much as it's a homage to filmmaking, it's a homage to movies, and I was like, oh, they're just patronizing us.
Wow. Wow.
That's
Who's
what I
shitting your
thought. That's what I
cornflakes?
thought that night when I watched it.
I guess.
I mean, it's like
Martin
playing
Scorsese
right into
was
the
patronizing
hands
you.
of film critics, but
Even though it's based on
that's
a book.
That's a dour way of looking at it.
Oh, that's so unlike you, Dower.
Yeah, I think it's a 3-star film. I literally thought it was going to go. I was bored with it in the middle. Okay, that aside, this is one of the most beautiful looking movies. It's astonishingly beautiful.
It shows what 3D can do when it's not a cheap trick or a gimmick. I mean, the 3D I thought was gorgeous and used very well to enhance the visual style of the film.
Yeah.
And, what do you expect? It's Scorsese. He probably, spent, he probably learned everything there is about 3D, studied the history of 3D, got the best 3D possible, and then used it as well as I've ever seen it used. It wasn't ever someone throwing a snowball at you and you duck.
Well, I think the production and design of the film lends itself to that kind of magical 3D kind of thing. I mean, in that it's 1920s. It's like a toy box movie.
Yeah.
It's
Well, it takes to give people an idea what it's about. There's a young boy who lives in the Paris train station, 1920s.
cool place to live.
Is it 1920s?
Yes.
Really? And he's there because his father died, left him in charge of, or left him to an uncle, a drunken uncle whose job it was to keep the clocks in the train station running. And the uncle
Father played by Jude Law.
Yeah, and the uncle played by
Oh
Yeah.
God,
that guy.
That guy.
I'm thinking Brendan Gleeson, but it's not.
No, I think you might be right.
No, Ray Winston.
Yes, Winstone.
And so the uncle leaves him, teaches him what to do, and then pretty much leaves him on his own. So this kid lives behind the scenes in the making the clocks run, but he also is stealing parts from a toy shop to build a automaton that his father and he were working on before his father died. And automaton's like, for lack of a better word, it's a little robot.
Intricately geared.
The kid gets caught
precisely
stealing by the toy maker, played by Ben Kingsley, who we learn later on is a famous filmmaker, French filmmaker, the guy who basically invented narrative films.
Oh, I'm looking at this write-up online. It says 1930s Paris.
Okay,
so
whatever.
10 years off.
So they have the kid and the toy maker's niece.
Chloe Grace Moretz, pulling off a flawless British accent.
Where's she from originally?
She's American.
Ah.
Hit girl.
She what?
Let Me In.
Oh, okay.
The girl, she's got, what is she? She must be 14. She's got 4 hit movies. It could be said that she's batting 1,000. That is if you liked 500 Days of Summer.
I did.
Kick-Ass.
I did not.
Let Me In.
Okay.
The vampire flick.
Yep.
And this.
She's batting 750. Yeah. Not bad for a kid.
Not bad.
Yeah, so I don't want to really spoil that much of it because they have an adventure. I mean, and that's the funny thing. This girl just wants to have an adventure, and so they have an adventure in a train station.
I think in a way, it's about associations. She's literally associating with a kid from the wrong side of the tracks.
Yeah.
But I think it's also interesting in that, so his father dies. The boy's father, the boy's played by Asa Butterfield. Really good performance, although I thought he was a little melodramatic, unconvincingly, at a certain point in the movie, but that's just me. But he did it. They got a terrific... Scorsese has himself a terrific kid in this part. He really
both kids are great.
Did a great casting job here. So the kid's drunk uncle passes away.
Dies in the River Seine.
Yeah, while the kid is living with
him.
Right,
okay, yeah.
Is what I meant to say. But the kid's uncle had left and then eventually dies, and the kid keeps the clocks running under the nose of the inspector, played by Sacha Baron Cohen.
My one problem with the movie.
Really? He's my favorite part of the film.
See, I'm just not a Sacha Baron Cohen fan.
Oh, come on, John.
I'm not. It's okay not to be. I don't have to be like everyone else. I don't think he's funny.
I think he's terrifically well cast here.
No, I thought it was just hammy.
Well, you could see it that way, but
I think he went for jokes when the part really didn't require him to go for a laugh.
He carried this movie for me.
Really?
When it was dragging. Yeah.
Yikes. He annoyed me.
Oh, God.
What?
Right.
Don't get upset just because I'm right.
He gives the movie some much needed humor, I thought. But the movie itself picks up when we learn that Isabel, played by Chloe Grace Moretz, her grandfather happens to be Georges Méliès. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. And it's at a time in the 1930s when Méliès believed that nobody appreciated what he was doing, and he had been under that.
We'd made like 500 movies, but most of them had been destroyed.
Yes.
Or he thought they'd been destroyed,
yes.
And he wasn't getting any love.
And the flashback scenes in this film are terrific.
Aren't they?
Yes, when they go back to Méliès' studio and show him and his wife, his muse, preparing to, in his glass, like... not an arboretum, but it's like a greenhouse.
Yeah.
This giant glass greenhouse that he's built to let the light in, his studio. And they show the making of A Trip to the Moon and some of his other films. And this movie, in a way, sort of reminded me of The Adventures of Baron Munchausen in its ornateness in a way. But those flashback scenes were terrific. And what I thought was astonishing, and I'm sure many other people, many other critics thought this too, was that when they show the actual footage from Trip to the Moon, they show this like film that was made in 1904, 1905, something like that, in 3D.
Yeah.
And it was amazing to see a silent film in 3D. And as the story goes on, we learn that he was Méliès was so distraught that he burned all of his films. And then, some of his films started to appear when he thought all was lost.
Well, the kids actually discover a copy.
Right, because there's a historian.
Right.
Played by Michael Stuhlbarg. Many people may know him from the Coen Brothers film that he did, A Simple Man. Mm-hmm. Or was that? I get The Simple Man and Colin Firth one, a single man. That's a single man.
No, Single Man was a
Serious
Colin
Man.
Firth one. Serious Man was the Coen brothers. Yeah.
Michael Sturbog's also in Scorsese's Boardwalk Empire, and he plays a film historian who's
Obsessed.
Saved all of Mel Yates' stuff.
He has like one reel of his film. He
And
has
one.
his original camera and stuff like this, and so they show it to Millet, and it ends up, they have a retrospective.
It's really feel good.
So when did it become? I don't know. When did it start to bug you that the movie was just pandering to critics?
Well, I think it started when I think I first felt that when we had the flashbacks of Mel Yates at his studio, and all the old film cameras and just the workaday stuff that's going on in his studio. And also, I think when they had this one flashback scene that I thought was very amusing. But I mean, it's like, who couldn't love that? People often talk about that scene, a time when people were first shown a film about a train coming into a station and the train was coming in and everybody in the crowd ducked. Well, here you see that.
Right.
I mean, it's easy. It's easy to charm us with something like that.
But I don't know, when you make it sound like there was some kind of evil intent or, that some kind of suck up
just
to
what
critics.
I was thinking at the time.
Yeah. I was charmed, I'll admit it, by the whole thing.
Yeah, it's an enchanting film.
And great 3D. I mean,
yes.
It's
especially being introduced to the train station at the beginning.
Yeah. That, can you tell us the Scorsese shot, that long tracking shot into the station? It's like, it's got to end. It's got to end. He's got to cut it sooner or later. Yay.
And he makes a cameo in the film.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
So would you, I would say, yeah, man, pay the fucking $14. See this,
Matinee.
I'm going to go see it again.
Yeah, I want to see this again. I definitely do. Again, I would encourage people to watch the Scorsese on Jon Stewart's, on demand or whatever, because he talks about how,
This is a new interview for HUGO?
Yeah, it was just a couple days ago.
Okay.
So it's still on demand. And he talks about, how the real parts of the movie.
He doesn't really do, like, a lot of press interview stuff.
No.
When the only thing he did when we had an opportunity is, the level of journalists that we are to interview him. I did the Departed junket, but he only did the press conference.
Yeah, I did the press conference for Aviator,
yeah?
And for the Rolling Stones movie he did.
Oh, cool.
And I think there was one other.
Man, I just heard something strange about that Rolling Stones movie. There's this new biography out on, the guy who started what's Led Zeppelin's label?
Swan Song.
Atlantic, yeah.
Right.
The guy who they had the...
Ahmed...
Yes.
Whatever his name is?
Zertigan?
Yeah, something like that.
He died just before... He was injured at the Beacon Theater just, I think, hours before the Rolling Stones went on to perform that concert that Scorsese filmed. And he died later. It was an injury that happened right before they were going to film that thing on Scorsese's documentary. Strange. Just read it the other day in the New York Times.
Huh. I didn't know that.
Unfortunately, there's a new biography there's a new biography out on him that was reviewed. Anyway,
yes,
my week with Marilyn, and I keep thinking back to this comment that Sean made on Facebook that it would make a great double bill with me and Orson Welles.
It would. It would.
It's kind of the same thing in a way.
Yep, and equally enjoyable.
My week with Orson Welles. Me and Marilyn Monroe.
I liked it a lot. And I'm not it's funny because I remember when it ended, I looked at Ty Burr from the Globe and I said, "Who's that girl?"
What?
And he went, "Michelle Williams." Like, "Michelle Williams, you fucking idiot." And I was like, "Oh, I didn't know going in. I didn't know watching her because I just remember her from Meek's Crossing with the giant flippers."
Yeah.
Or Blue Valentine with the fake sex.
She kind of, it's very different for her because she's done some roles where she's kind of had like a boyish
she does a lot of gritty stuff
going on, like
this is all
Wendy
glamour.
and Lucy and Meek's Cutoff. Say what you want about that movie. I love it.
What, the Lucy
But my
movie?
week with Marilyn,
Lucy.
man, she is 100% woman. And if this didn't work, the movie would have sucked. If she couldn't sell being Marilyn, and she really does. It works.
Yeah. I think she sells it because she's not trying to do an imitation. She brings it to life without imitating. the classic things we know about Monroe. And here's the funny thing. So part of the movie takes place when the whole reason in the movie she goes to London 1956 to make a movie with Sir Laurence Olivier, the Prince and the Showgirl.
Played by Kenneth Branagh.
Yes.
The Prince.
And after watching this, I went on a bit of a Marilyn Monroe movie kick.
Did you?
Yes. I'm not impressed. She's kind of a beast.
Marilyn Monroe,
Yeah.
the actual Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
Well, the
I don't think she's attractive.
the extra features on the Some Like It Hot DVD.
Yeah.
They weren't, shying away from the idea that she was an insufferable airhead.
Yeah.
And they had so much trouble with her in that movie, like forgetting her lines and just being late and holding everyone up, and it was really a fucking pain in the ass.
And
so Jack Lemmon and Tony Curtis and
everyone tries
who
to make
directed
these.
Some Like It Hot, I forget. They were all
Billy Wilder.
yeah.
They were all. There's
not
like this
shining much
whole
love
camp
towards
of Marilyn who thinks she's not only the most glamorous thing Hollywood ever made, but that was really a tragic character, a great actress who was misunderstood, and she had these addictions and issues and blah blah blah. I'm just going on what I saw in the movies, and I don't think she's an attractive woman. She's kind of a grotesque character.
I don't know, John.
No.
I don't know. I think men are just hazed
I'm
by
not. That's
her
just
beauty.
it.
And then being in her realm,
Yeah.
it just that kind of thing. It causes problems because men have such there's like a physical reaction when
Well,
you
I think
see
it's
such a
it's
terrifically
hard
good
to look
woman
back
like
because
that.
it was the 1950s and nothing like that had ever been seen. So overtly sexual in movies.
Well, I think here in this movie with Marilyn Monroe, Eddie Redmayne's character Colin, he's like this guy that cuts through all the bullshit, all the bullshit that surrounds her, and then there's this one person that she connects with, and it's him. He's the bullshit cutter.
Well,
He's the one guy that the director can't believe is actually getting through to his lead actress.
There's a scene in the movie where he takes what's his name, Eddie?
Colin.
Colin
Well,
takes
Eddie
Marilyn
Redmayne takes
to
Colin.
his university.
Yeah.
And she of course the boys at the college find her and they all go crazy.
Yeah.
And at first she's kind of like shy and giggly and girly, but then she turns it on. She becomes Marilyn. She throws the pose. And it's like that to me was a magic moment in this movie.
Yeah.
That even though whatever we think of her or project on her as a person, she knew what she had and she
The
could
movie,
turn it on.
it succeeds in a way in the sense that it gets Marilyn Monroe's elegance.
Mm-hmm.
And
I don't know if elegance is the right word. It's definitely the
she's elegant on the outside.
the mesmer. You mesmerize looking at Michelle Williams. I guess the way you were looking at her back then.
mesmerized is a good way to put it.
Because you can't take your eyes off Michelle Williams.
They also do this sort of thing. It's like basically all she has to do is show up at the studio and act and do her lines.
Right.
And everything is great. And there's this moment in the film, maybe moments, where she causes so much trouble. She's just so much angst and problems for everyone. And Kenneth Branagh, Olivier just doesn't think he's going to get this shit done,
Yeah.
But they can't replace her.
Right.
She's like a diamond because they know and they see it when she's on camera and when she's on, it's cinema gold. And the world stops.
Yeah.
And all the problems that she caused drift away because holy shit, they just captured
Magic.
There's
a scene in the movie where they show her and it's just Michelle Williams like kind of dancing around in a room.
Yeah.
And then when I saw The Prince and the Showgirl, that's a scene from the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting. Anyone who sees My Week with Marilyn should rent The Prince and the Showgirl. It's not a really good movie, but because you get such a live behind the scenes look in the My Week with Marilyn, and then to see the final product that was released to the world, very fascinating stuff.
You know what's interesting about these films about My Week with Marilyn and me and Orson Welles and stuff where we're seeing the production of a film or a production of a play on screen. It's the politics. It's the hierarchy. It's who's in charge and egos, and that's what's at play here. There's this side story going on with Eddie Redmayne where Emma Watson, who plays his girlfriend in the film, and his real love, because this thing that's happening, and this thing that's happening with Marilyn Monroe is happening because of work, and also it's because Emma Watson's character is Lucy. She's suspicious of what might be going on here, but something with like a crew member or someone or like just a regular normal Joe, and
The
you know, a
talent.
star, the talent, it has trouble being real. In their reality, he's with Marilyn Monroe, but you know that it can never be real.
Right.
It's always a fantasy. It's always something strange. You can never actually be truthful or real. And I think, well, truthful may not be the right way to put it, but I think just real.
Right.
And she's she's so immersed in this pool of phoniness. You know, she doesn't see outside, you know, like she's at the center of the hurricane and she doesn't see all the stuff that's going around. She's like, thinks of him as like a life preserver. You know, it's one of the few people that he can actually connect with. But at the same time, she's unconnectable.
Right. At the end of the week, she goes on being Marilyn, and he goes back to being Colin.
She goes back to Crazy Town and
Crazy.
he gets back to reality.
She's in Crazy Town. You know, I'm glad Sean brought up that thing with me and Orson Welles because both
Sean
movies,
Burns, for people who don't know, is a fellow critic here in writes for Philadelphia Weekly.
and The Improper Bostonian.
And The Improper Bostonian.
Both movies do a great job of. We see the behind the scenes. You know how these classic, like whether it was the Wells movie was more of his stage stuff, but we see these high strung, volatile, talented people fighting for their vision, and then the movies do a good job of showing us what that vision is and why it was worth the fight. You know what you see those moments where Marilyn clicks and everything works in the movie. And you see the scenes in Orson Welles with his stagings of Shakespeare that just look brilliant. And that's important, I think, because we need, otherwise to become, you know, kind of bratty, overprotected pains in the ass.
Yeah.
You know, you have to see the reason that everyone put up with it.
Yeah, that's what Olivier is thinking. And then when it gets right down to it, Michelle Williams is stunning.
Yeah.
You know, in this film. But you know what the best film about the troubles of bringing a stage act to the theater is right now?
Waiting for Guffman?
The Muppets. The Muppets. The telethon. Fozzie Bear. 5 seconds to showtime. Fozzie Bear.
Look, fart
It's
shoes.
like 5 seconds to showtime and it all comes together, you know? Gotta love it, man. Go see the Muppets.
Are we done with Marilyn?
Is Miss Piggy a play on Marilyn Monroe?
I don't think so.
I think we're done with Marilyn.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's a different kind of beast.
You can listen to all of our episodes online. We're at post-movie.net, and we're on Facebook. If you like us there, that would be cool. John, you got to sign into Facebook more often.
Why?
You see what's going on there. See who's, you know, liking and unliking and what's
They've got
happening.
it set up now, so
Like, what's your Facebook deal?
I think it's stupid. I do.
It's people, John. It's the people that
No,
might actually
it's
be
not
listening to
people.
this.
It's virtual people. They've got it set up so when I post something on Event Guide, it goes on the Event Guide Facebook page, which is a little disturbing to me. But now I have to check their Facebook more often than I check my own.
Got to get Facebooking, John.
No, I don't.
It's good for you.
It's not good for you. It's not.
We're also on iTunes. You can subscribe and leave a review there because we'll actually read it.
Can they post stuff on our
think you
Facebook
can.
page?
Yeah. You know, it's not really like review or like the reviews on iTunes, you know, I mean,
Did you
it
say
actually
reviewering?
I meant to say review oriented
Reviewering. I like that.
is the process of movie reviewing.
Yes.
But the reviews on iTunes, you know, actually affect visibility or something like that. So one would hope that we'd get a good review. And if you have any questions or disagree or agree with anything we've said, you can reach John or me at contact. Us. You can reach us at contact@post-movie.net. Until next time, I'm Steve Head.
And I'm John Black.
So long, everyone.